All right. Hello, students. I know it took a while for me to make this video, but here it is. So I will be going over the major grade assignments to give y'all some little help, especially the ones that are able to go online. That way you don't have to wait for assistance, especially if I don't get have time to go to it. So the one we are looking at right now is the Module 2, Topic 2 and 3 assessment. This is the one we took in December before y'all left, and since y'all wouldn't have had enough time to correct it, it is now on the third 9 weeks grading book in the third 9 weeks grade book. So I'm gonna be helping you break down the problem, but it is your job to find the answers to these problems because this was your test and is to see what you know and what you can do. So let's start off with question number 1. A family 4-pack of tickets. A family bought 4 packs of tickets to go to the zoo. Cost $37. What is the price per ticket in the family 4-pack? So you already know what we do. The first thing is, what are we looking for? Well, in this case, I'm looking for price per ticket. Now, per ticket, how many tickets am I talking about? I'm specifically talking about one ticket. So how are you going to go about finding the price of one ticket? That is for you to decide. Let's go ahead and look at question number 2. The ratio of Juana's height to Penelope's height is 19 to 20. If Wiona is 57 inches tall, how tall is Penelope in inches? So, this is clearly a ratio problem. So, let's determine what we're trying to find. How tall is Penelope? Very important, it has to be in inches. So, looking at the height, we have a ratio, which is this, and then we know Wiona is 57 inches tall. Now, there are a couple of different ways to solve a ratio problem. Excuse me. One of the ways is to use equivalent fractions. So set it up and see if you can make an equivalent fraction of going from one number to the next. If that doesn't work, or if you don't know how to do that method, then the next method I can recommend is the proportion, where you set up two fractions and make sure the denominators and the numerators match units. For instance, if I'm going, excuse me, if I'm going to put Winona's height in the numerator, then that means her corresponding unit, her corresponding number will go in the numerator in my second fraction, and Penelope would be my denominator. Vice versa, if I want Penelope information in my numerator, I will put it in both, and Juana's would have to be in my denominator. So just make sure your fractions are consistent if you're going to use the proportion method. But you need to decide which one. If you have any further questions about either method, I would suggest you look it up, equivalent fractions, or use the proportion method. All right, on to number 3. Number 3, an apartment has 4 closets of identical size. Each closet measures 24 inches by 39 inches. How many square feet of closet space does the apartment have? So, first things first, what are we trying to find? Well, we want to know how many square feet of closet space. Now, notice this says feet and not inches. So already you should know we're going to have to do something about these inches because what we're looking for doesn't involve inches. It involves feet. Also, there is a particular word that I'm boxing right here that you should pay attention to see what you need to be doing with these numbers. And this number is also important. All numbers in this problem are important, so you cannot eliminate anything. If you don't use every single number, then you did something wrong. All right, number 4. A firehouse ladder is 28 feet, 4 inches long. How long is the ladder in inches? So we want to know how long in inches. Okay? The only reason I didn't circle ladder is because that's the only thing this problem talked about. So of course it has to be about the only object that's in the problem in these two sentences. Now we have 28 feet and we have 4 inches. So both of them are important, but once again, going back to what we are trying to find. How long in inches? So we gonna have to do something about this, okay? Oh, on a side note, I need to go back up to this one. Make sure you do something about these inches first, because if you try to solve with these inches and then fix it later, you're gonna wind up with a wrong answer. And I know because I solved it that way and my answer was very askewed. It was very wrong, okay? So make sure you do something about these feet. Let's go to the next problem, number 5. The table shows the portion of a day that 5 students worked on decorating the gym for the school dance. Use the matching table to order the least amount of time used to the greatest amount of time used. So we have this table, we have 5 people. We have a decimal here, a fraction, a percent, and a decimal. Once again, it is easier to order things when they are all one form. So I would suggest you turn everything into a fraction or a decimal or a percent. Out of the 3 I just said, it would be preferred if you turn things into decimals or percents. I wouldn't necessarily turn everything into a fraction because then your fractions have to have the same denominator for you to match them, unless you do the butterfly method, which could be that's a lot longer than the other 2. So I would suggest decimals or percents. But in the end, you can still do fractions, do what you want. You're only allowed to click one circle per column, okay? One circle per column, which means only one circle is going to be highlighted per row because they're supposed to match. If Mary is first, there should be only one highlighted in this column, but there's also only going to be one highlighted in that row because if she's first, she can't be any of these other things. And if this is the least, there's only one number that is the least. It's not all of them. So one circle per column per row. Number 6, select the correct amount of parts. The entire 6th grade class at your school was asked the question, which ice cream flavor is your favorite? The results are shown below. Click the amount of rectangles to represent the percentage of students whose favorite flavor is caramel. Well, this kind of helped you out. It literally told you the percentage. You just need to click it in the diagram. On your original test, this was something you had to make and then have it select. Hopefully I get a chance to show y'all how y'all should have did this in Eduphoria, because how to do it in Schoology is totally different. So we have 40% caramel. Now let's look at the rectangles. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need to click the amount that represent the percentage of caramel. Okay, click the amount that represents the percentage of Carmel. So we have 5 rectangles. We have to click a certain amount that would represent 40%. So I leave that to you to figure out. a way to do it. Moving on to the next question. On an adventure tour, Deshawn ran 3 miles, biked 6 miles, swam 4 miles, and walked 7 miles. He sure did a lot. What percentage of the tour did Deshawn swim? Well, we're looking for the percentage of his swimming. Well, since we need a percent, since he did a lot, remember percents are related to fractions. So if you could figure out how to turn this into a fraction, you could turn that fraction into a percent by either going straight from fraction to percent or by going fraction decimal percent. But once again, percentages are related to fractions. Please do not just put the number and put a percent sign behind it. That's not how it works. Okay? All right, now we're going to number 8. We're already more than halfway done. The figure shown has 5 equal sections. The decimal equivalent for the unshaded sections is blank and represents blank. And then here's our choices. Okay, so we want the decimal equivalent of unshaded sections. So decimal equivalent. So we have the decimal here, and then it looks like the second one and represents is percents. So we're looking for the decimal and the percentage that represents the unshaded. So it looks here like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like the previous question. So if you figured out the fraction for that one, you can use the fraction for this one to figure out what this is in decimal and percent form. Also, you can just simply write your own fraction from what is being shown. Remember, the numerator is what we're looking at or using, and the denominator represents all the pieces. Number 9, at a local movie theater, the ratio of adult tickets sold to children's tickets sold is 5 to 6. Which of the following could show how many of each kind of tickets were sold? So we're looking for how many kinds of tickets were sold. Now, here's the key thing about this question. It says that it is a ratio. And the adult tickets sold to children tickets is 5 to 6. So remember, if we're dealing with ratios mostly have a multiplicative relationship, which means most of the time you can make equivalent ratios, which are equivalent fractions, because you can simply increase the numbers or decrease them depending on how big or small your original numbers are. So you basically just have to remember how to make an equivalent ratio, aka equivalent fraction. Number 10, which I believe, yes, is the last question on this particular test. So the gas indicator on a car shows that the tank is 33 1/3% full. Plot the point on the number line that represents 33 1/3%. So we need to plot a point that represents this percentage. Okay? Plot a point that represents the percentage. Well, first you need to do what I've taught you in class and decide or figure out what is the value of each tick mark. Well, looking at the very first number we see, we have 0, and then the next number after it is a 1. Well, it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines to get from 0 to 1. So if I were writing this as a fraction, if you want the decimal one, you're going to have to turn these into decimals yourselves. I'm not going to do that. We have 1, 6, 2, 6, 3, 6, so forth and so on. So this is how much each line is worth. And then, of course, 6 over 6 is when we get to the 1. So using this information, you should be able to plot the percent. Remember, a percent can be turned into a decimal and a fraction. And then, of course, if you want to use the fraction given, I would suggest you increase it because you can always do equivalent fractions. Right, that is it for this assignment. If you need further help, just let me know. But do not expect me to give you answers because that is not what I'm here for. I am here to teach you how to solve things in a productive way and use your critical thinking skills along with anything that has been taught to you to get to an answer. So I will talk to y'all later. I have another assignment to do, and I hope this is useful. Bye.